Greetings, friends. Your cartoonist pal Stan here with a brand new episode of Random Encounters, the show where I use random encounter tables, like the kind you find in tabletop role playing games, such as Dungeons and Dragons, together with input from you, whoever's watching in the live chat room, and electronic dice and my own imagination to do some improv drawing. What's improv drawing, you ask? Glad you asked. I'll tell you. That's where I use those tables and your input to pick a who, a subject, a creature, a character, something, and a what, a situation, a costume, an activity. And I take those things and I mash them together and I draw a cartoon based on just that while you're watching for your entertainment and mine. Because drawing is fun. I do this, that's the point of this show. The whole point is that drawing is fun, and so I encourage you, please, to grab a piece of paper or a notebook or a sketch pad and your favorite drawing implement, a crayon, a pencil, a ballpoint pen, a brush, a dip brush, and some ink, some watercolors, whatever, and just draw. We're going to be here for about an hour and a half. Just draw some stuff. You don't have to draw the same things I'm drawing. You certainly don't have to draw them the same way I'm drawing them. Though, you're welcome to do whatever you like. In fact, anything you like. Just engage in the fun that is creative expression. Doing a little drawing just for the fun of it. Doodle it out. If you don't like what you're doing, scribble it off and start again. Have some fun. That's why I'm here. All right, that is what the show is about. That's what we do. And I'm going to grab my iPad. I do all my drawing here on an iPad Pro. Pardon me. Using the app. Pardon me, I just had dinner and some of it just was still sticking to my teeth. Isn't that a lovely thing to see? Yes, I use the iPad Pro with an Apple Pencil and the app Procreate. These are what I use for my professional work. I also use it for my just kind of fiddling around, and I use it here because I can display it up on the screen for you all to see. So let's do just that right now. As I hit this button, and you can see, usually I change that before you get here. You can see that these are the encounter tables for tonight. I just realized I didn't do something in preparation. I've got to also turn on my, there we go, the die roller. All right, here we go. These are the encounter tables we're going to use tonight. We'll roll the dice. Got a white die and a black die. As you can see, I have whites go with the who, blacks go with the what. Can switch that around, doesn't matter. I could make it red and blue. I just picked white and black because they're easily discernible. And we'll see what comes up. Hello, Michael in chat. Glad to see you. Glad to see you here tonight. How you doing, my friend? All right, so let's roll the dice and get going. So come over here, we'll come back, and we're going to roll some dice now. Last week, I did about half the show without realizing that I was using the wrong dice. I was using, whoa, that's a spam call. I know it says something else, but I know that's a spam call. Come on, stop it. This is the problem of streaming straight from my iPad, is if I get a call, you get to see it. Anyway, we got double aughts. Ooh, that's in Cthulhu, that would be terrible. So the highest roll on the Who table, always adventurers. I put them there so there's a chance we'll get adventurers. So adventurers and Insomnia is our 10 on the other side, on the what table. We got adventurers, Insomnia. So let's see. We're going to come over here and turn that off, and we're on the sketch layer. And I've got my brush and the right color. I like to do my sketching in blue. Michael says he's slightly freaking out because he can't find his new tablet pen. Oh no! only 2 days and you've lost it already. Well, hopefully it will turn up. One of the things I like about the iPad case one of the things I really like about the iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil is it magnetically attaches to the iPad, so I don't ever I don't ever lose it. And the case I use has a very secure um, little divot that I can put it in, so it still is connected magnetically, so it'll charge. That's how it charges, and it's also protected from me wildly flinging my iPad around and the pencil going somewhere else. Um, Something about counting sheep and a long rest could be, yes. So Michael's making suggestions here for what the cartoon might be. Something about counting sheep and a long rest. Um, I also was thinking about something lurking in the darkness, waiting for them to sleep so they could attack. I suppose if there'd been a monster, that might have been what we did here. All right, so um, the idea of does a long rest count if you have insomnia? If you just kind of, I know if you're an elf, you don't actually have to rest. You just have to go into you only have to rest for about 4 hours. It's not necessarily sleep. Um, but here we go. Let me stop. Let me put something up on the board for you all to look at. So we're gonna have got a bed. We have our character here. So one of the things we're going to have to do here is pay a little extra attention to. They're going to have bags under their eyes. Should this be my usual fighter type character? In pajamas. And have one of the other characters there having a nice snooze. Um, I'm trying to think of an insomnia joke. I mean, I get we got the thinking of sheep. Jumping over a fence, like you do. I'm thinking. Thinking, where is the gag in this? Hmm. There we go. When you're doing these cartoons of someone sleeping, the smallest Z should be near the mouth, and the biggest Z should be towards us. It gets louder as they snore away from themselves. Um, I'm thinking things like, you know, what I could change other than make it other than sheep. I know they could be little dire wolves or, uh, yeah, that's what I'm wondering. If he lies there for 8 hours, it does it count as a long rest? I don't know. I'm sure that I'm sure my DM would say no. There'd be some penalty involved, and all my experience with the insomnia tells me that they're probably right. All right, things I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do here with the sheep. I don't know if I'm going to have some kind of gag here, but I do know that I'm going to draw this guy like this while we think about it. So, let's see what other things can come up here to the lines layer, and the question is going to become: Do is this going to be one of those gags where I just let the visual carry it and I don't worry about writing something? Is it just having him wonder about the 8 hours? I don't know. But the drawing is going to be the same either way, so that's not going to stop me here. I was just looking at some of the past uh, drawings that I've done on the show, and I think uh, maybe last year in the spring, sometime last year, it had one where it was a mimic and insomnia, and we had the pillow was a mimic waiting for the adventurer to actually fall asleep. I think that was I think that was a insomnia joke. It might have been a mimic pillow. I'm not sure. I'd have to go back and look again. But I was looking because I've been thinking that some of these ideas that I've had for the show for the prompts are worth repeating. I do it once, and as long as I don't bring it back too often, right? There's so many different jokes that you can get out of these things. I certainly repeat the Who's often enough. We certainly have adventurers on there every week, whether or not they show up, but dragons show up all the time, and mind flayers. It's, why not go back and that's easy for me to figure out because I just start thinking of what's a D&D monster I want to draw, and I put it in there. But the what thing is something that I'm always kind of working on, and never really sure. It even more could be anything, and it's a little hard sometimes to come up with the new ones each week. As I change the encounter table, I erase what was there and try and come up with something new to go on there. I think I'm going to be going back and looking uh, at the past episodes for what I might be able to reuse. All right, so we've got our characters here in bed. One guy sleeping, the other guy not. All right, so now I pretty consistently post to Blue Sky what I did the night before. Yeah, well, I've started to. I've consistently post to Facebook. I very consistently post to Facebook. I was posting to Instagram, and I stopped doing that because of all the kind of copyright issues that Instagram started raising. I will now occasionally post there, and I've tried to get into the habit of posting to uh, Blue Sky uh, every week. But I'll be honest, sometimes I miss it. I haven't cracked that nut yet. All right, so we've got maybe rather than sheep. Let's go back to the sketch layer. Rather than sheep, what if we made them goblins? Like that. That light's a little long there. Let's just get it closer to right. So, because, I don't worry about getting the details in, but I want to get the basic lines right. Okay, back to the lines layer. Drop the pen size a little for these guys. And I don't know. I don't know. In the end, I think that I'm doing this. Well, let's say it again, as I often do. This is all about the fun, and not. I shouldn't worry. I encourage you not to worry, and I don't model this very often about these details. Right? We're just doing it for fun. If it doesn't turn out into something that we want to hang on our virtual fridge, we'll just let it be and move on to the next one. There we go. And we're going to have a fence here. And we're going to very quickly put the thought balloon around it. I think you're right, Michael, that in the if we were writing a joke for this, it would definitely be around the 8. Does this count as a full night, a long rest? But I don't know that I can come up. I'm not coming up with a good phrasing, a good, quickly delivered phrasing that'll sell it. All right, so I want to come over here and put that window in. All right, so turn off the sketch layer. Very quickly turn on the colors. We're going to do some quick coloring on this one. I've moved over to my Gloamish brush, which gives me the crayon-y, marker-y kind of feeling. So I can do this quick style drawing or coloring. I don't know. I don't know about this one. You know what? I tell you what I do know. I think that as a drawing of a guy in bed, being unable to sleep, successful. I think I did a pretty good job of capturing that. Drawing a cartoon, a gag about insomnia, A D&D style gag about insomnia. Little less successful, but it's all right. And let's see, we need some wood tone for the bed frame. Got this guy here. He's just having a grand night's sleep. Good for him. I'm still thinking. No, wait. Goblins are orangey yellow. In D&D they are. This is in Pathfinder too, though they're more yellowy yellow. And certainly goblins are different shades of yellow and orange in different editions of D&D. Oh. There we go. I'm still trying to come up with an 8-hour phrasing, way to phrase it, what he would be thinking. But it's just not coming to me, so I'm just going to let it go. I'm going to be smart this time. But maybe if you if you're watching this, Michael, if you come up with it, put it in the chat. If you're watching this on replay, or if you're watching it somewhere else, you don't have a chance uh, to interact right now, put it in the comments afterwards, or post it to me on Facebook when I put this up there. What should he be saying here? What should he be thinking there? Caption contest. It's not really a contest. I don't have a prize, but there you go. Anyway, there we go. First one done. That is going to be our adventurer Insomnia drawing. That's killing me. That 8, yeah. You know what? I'm going to write it. I'm going to write basically what you said there, Michael. I think that you're um, very close. What you said is there. It's just not hitting. Let's see if I do this. For 8 hours. Does it still count? As a long rest? There we go. That'll be it. Now we're done. I've gotten that worry off my. I put something there. It's true about any kind of creative work, whether you're talking about writing or drawing or making a comic. When you're doing the first time through, having something there is better than sitting and racking your brains trying to come up with the perfect thing. You can always change what's there. You can't change something that's not there. That's it. Particularly going into editing and creating projects. When working with freelancers, this would come up a lot, right? If you send me something that is meh, we can massage it and make it good. If you sit there forever trying to make it perfect and send me nothing, we can do nothing. So, here we go. Not perfect, but it's there. And as Michael says there, good enough for government work, good enough for stand work. Here we go. Done. So I'm going to come back here. Oh, that's not what I want to do. I want to come back here, close out group 1, open up group 2, reset my brushes, reopen the encounter tables, have another sip of my diet drink. How artificially sweet it is. And then we can go back to... Oh, wait, no, gotta... We started with an adventurer having insomnia, and it kind of threw me, quite honestly. But we're going to go back and see what the dice have in store for us for sketch number 2. So let's go here. We're going to come back to the dice. Come on, dice. And we're going to roll them, 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 roll them. Hello, Matthew Snow. And stop. And we get a 2 and a 7. 2 on the white die, 7 on the black die. And that tells me that we have a dwarf writing with a quill. Okay. It's another one that doesn't have an immediate thought for what the gag is, but another one that also immediately I can figure out what it wants to look like. So, we're going to have a... come on. Oh, I didn't turn those on. Now they're on. Here we go. In the sketch layer, we're going to sketch. We've got a dwarf. With a quill, big, fancy pen quill. I'm going to take this and move it down because I think my joke is going to be behind him. We put a chair here. A high, elfy, humany chair. I'm thinking I have an elf here. I'm thinking he's saying something like he doesn't want a booster. But next time, how about a dwarf-sized writing desk? Don't you have any? Don't you have any dwarf-sized? I think he's gonna be saying something like I may want a booster seat. No, I didn't. And maybe just no, I didn't want a booster seat. No, I didn't want a booster seat. Yeah, I think it's a little weird. Dwarves aren't known particularly well for their quill, fancy writing. I think that chisel comment is a good one, Michael. Nay, I didn't. I'm going to say didn't. I definitely need a nay. I didn't want a booster seat. This feels like a good, this would have a good turnaround where the elf would have to sit at a dwarven sized desk. All right, I like those. I like that sketch. Let's go in and do a little drawing. Hello, Lamasu Rex. I have an idea for a city of magic savvy dwarves ruled by a sorcerer aristocracy. Well, sounds like a good idea to me. The joke has become all about the desk and not about this. Our prompt, and I guess I'm thinking about this. It's a really good lesson to kind of keep in mind when you're doing something like this. The prompt was all about the plume, but the plume is just a uh, prop in service of this joke. And you can do that anytime you're doing something like this. Part of they talk about thinking outside the box. And it's a phrase that comes up all the time when you're talking about doing creative work of any time. People always say, think outside the box. Part of thinking outside the box is taking the pieces you've been given and using them in an unexpected way. And that literally is what people mean by thinking outside the box. Come up with something that other people aren't going to do. So, first thing that could be involved in that is examine your assumptions. If the prompt was Quill, you would think, and it was in this case, you'd think that the joke should be something about the writing, about and Michael came out with a good one, right? If I'd gone for that, if I'd seen that a little earlier and I decided to go for that, we could have definitely made a joke where it was based on the fact that dwarves would rather be chiseling than dipping Quill's feathers into ink and marking on paper. But, for good or for ill, I thought outside the box. And although, let me say, the quill is a definite part, it's where the drawing and the gag comes from. It's not the hook in the gag itself. It's just a prop. I'm gonna have to redo that arm. I shouldn't have stopped in the middle. You don't need to draw the whole arm, but you want to draw the whole segment. I'm not sure what inspired me to give this elf this haircut. Originally, you can tell by the circle on his chest that I originally thought I was going to be putting him in armor. But just kind of watching this come together, I decided he was going to be in robes with a cloak of some sort. Didn't give him eyebrows, though. Gotta give him some eyebrows. I don't mind having these floating eyebrows. I had it on the other drawing too. Um, Certainly, have had discussions with some friends and sometimes cartoon editors about whether or not that works. It works for me, but some people do get hung up on that, like the literal. How does this guy have an eyebrow which is just floating off the top of his head? Well, it's a cartoon. None of it's real anyway. So, all right, there we go. All right, I'm gonna say nay. Forget about the S. We're gonna put an S ellipsis there instead of an exclamation point. Nah. I feel like my gag here. Meh. Didn't they want a booster seat? It feels like it should be part of an ongoing, like a multi-panel thing. I could have done better. Oh well. All right, let's turn off this sketch layer and see where we could use some extra line work, just a little bit. Tiny bit. Yep, making myself laugh. That's all right. Um, what's the best head for a Rakshasa besides a tiger? Aren't Rakshasas always tigers? Certainly in the D&D sense, they are. What's the best head for a Rakshasa besides a tiger? I don't know. I've got a feeling that maybe this is a joke, and I'm missing the fact that you're asking me to lead up to a joke. All right, we're going to go to the colors layer here. Grab the gloaming brush again. And we're going to come in here and start adding some colors. And we're going to give them a nice reddish beard. A ginger beard as opposed to ginger beer. Very nice. I suppose one of the questions here should be what color the plume is. That's what I'm thinking. Something very fancy. Mr. Gregg says, no, the Rakshasa can have a variety of animal heads. The artwork in the new monster manual shows that. Oh, well, you know what? I'll be honest. I have not delved terribly deeply into the new D&D monster manual. But if that's the case, the that is a this kind of goes into what I was saying a little earlier when I was talking about goblins, that these truths about the creatures change from edition to edition. I could be wrong. I never used Rakshasa in any of the campaigns I've done, but my understanding has always been, again, perhaps incorrect, but my understanding has always been that in the past, Rakshasa were tiger head, period. And that maybe they've made that change in this edition. If they did, I'm betting it's because of I'm betting that folklore has Rakshasa of many different kinds, and D&D had previously pinned them in at um, only tiger. Again, I'm guessing here. I'm totally guessing on all of this. I have not seen the new version you're talking about, and as I say, my previous experience is very limited. But it has always, every time I've been involved with Rakshasa in the past, it hasn't been a question. They have been tiger headed. But now I'm curious. So what if in the new monster manual, what other animals do they show? I suppose if anyone's out there feeling the need to do a little googling here, um, you look it up and let me know what is. Look up the folklore tradition of Rakshasa. Are they in? Uh, I'm not gonna guess because uh, if I'm wrong, I will have stepped in a puddle of poo. I don't know exactly what folklore tradition Rakshasa come from. I think I might know, but that also is based on my old D&D knowledge. So whatever their folklore tradition, look it up. What does folklore say about Rakshasa? Unruk says a bird. I think it's a crow or a crane. All right. Do they say in the monster manual what? Do they give you any guidance, or do they just say? Do they say they can be any animal, or do they have a tendency to be one or another? I certainly, they've got to say that they very often are tigers, just because they've got to do that for their own past iterations. But Let's see. Michael in chat, on Wikipedia, I was pretty sure I could count on you to jump on that one. I gotta get you like a special assistant t-shirt or something, man. Let's see. Just putting some extra shading in here, little things to help give it a little extra flair, a little extra feeling of three-dimensionality. Come over, do the same thing for the elf. Right now I've got an earworm that I wouldn't wish on anyone going in my head. How many of you were Brady Bunch watchers? Or maybe still are Brady Bunch watchers? Well, on top of all the other trouble they got into, the Brady Bunch recorded a few songs. And I've got one of them stuck in my head right now. And it's not the most pleasant thing. Here we go. Now I'm going to take this whole thing, because once again, I think I made the colors just a little too oversaturated. Pull it back 10 or 15% and it will look much better. Oh, look at that. So much. Oh, 20% even. Look at that. So much better. Let's see now. In a D&D version was inspired by an episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker. You know what? I didn't know that. The D&D version was inspired by an episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker. In mythology, they're depicted with fangs, but are shape changers, so could be anything, but usually monstrous in appearance. Again, this is coming from Wikipedia. TV series Kolchak was on ABC in the 74 to 75. That I knew. But awesome. Huh. Shows what I don't know about Rakshasa. All right, there we go. That is, I think that's the end of that drawing. The conversation goes on, but the drawing is wrapping up. So I'm going to come back here to the lines layer, and we'll put a little stand in the corner. Because we've got a dwarf writing with a quill. Boo-doo, boo, boo-doo, doo. Done. And we've gone deep, well, deeper than I ever did previously into Rakshasa lore. Does it say what mythology, Michael? Does it say what mythology Rakshasa come from? It's a tiger, one with a bird, antelope, and crocodile. Okay. What do I know? Clearly, the best thing about it is that I admit that I don't know. And I want to learn. All right, let's have another sip here of the soda. And come back and reset everything. So we'll close out group 2 and turn on group 3. Reset the brushes to where I want them to be. Turn on the encounter tables 1, 2, 3. See, that all rhymes. Okay. I'm ready to do this one more time, and then, well, I was going to say then that's it for the evening, but it's kind of back to work for me. I'm in the middle of a writing project. I'm a little behind, so wrap up here and get back to writing. Indian subcontinent, continent, Hindu, Buddhist, etc. All right. Well, I mean, that's what I would have guessed, but at this point, I wasn't going to presume anything that I had in my head was going to be correct. So, we had a dwarf writing with a quill. That was our second drawing. Our first, of course, was Adventurer Insomnia. Let's go back to the dice one more time, get one more prompt, and do one more drawing. So, grab the dice over here. Come on. And roll them, 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 and stop. We got a 9 and a 2. Or a 7 and an 8. 9 and a 2. 9 and a 2 is a roper. A roper snowboarding. Which is a little funny because ropers basically are stationary monsters. But we do finally have one of these winter event ones that have been sitting on the list for a while. So, we're going to do a roper. And a roper is a stalagmite with long tentacles that can reach out to grab adventurers passing by. They basically look like stalagmites. So I always start with a stalagmite. And in this case, he's going to be on a snowboard. Usually you're shown with one big eye. And in this case, since he's snowboarding, he's going to have a goggle on. You have several tentacles to come off. Now, I think I want to take him and make him a little smaller on the page. And yeah, angle him down a little so he's going to be snowboarding down a mountain. Gonna have some more mountains in the background because, Now, what else? What else can I do to this? He's holding ski poles in every tentacle. Well, I mean, the thing about snowboarding is you usually don't have poles, right? And if he was skiing, I'd definitely go for that. But I don't think I want to give him ski poles when he's snowboarding. And I'm just looking at this space here and thinking, what else can I put in there? If I move him up here, then there's more room to put something else in there. Who else would be snowboarding with him? With someone smaller. Michael points out that since he's only got 1 foot, he doesn't even have any feet. All he's got is a flat bottom. He's basically just got a torso. So if he was skiing, it would look like a snowboard, and that's I can't argue with that. But our prompt is snowboard, not ski. Who else could be snowboarding with our? And now, oh god, now I want to make him a little bigger. Shrunk him down so much. Um, what other monster goes with a roper? I mean, either another stone monster, it could have a smaller roper. Get out, like Matthew says, get out of the dungeon, they said. Get some fresh air, they said. Except he looks like he's having a good time. All right, let's start drawing this, but I'm trying to think of who else I could put on this second snowboard next to him. Got a big mouthful of razor-sharp teeth. Like so many D&D monsters do. A lot of razor-sharp teeth in the dungeon. So I'm thinking, who else is in a dungeon like that? We could have I have Zorn on the list as a possible thing to be rolled. We've got Zorn there, Drider. And if I put the Zorn on here, I might take him off the list for next time, depending on uh, how good a job I think, or how much I feel we've accomplished that. Zorn's one of those characters that I was talking about earlier. I've done in previous episodes and then didn't bring back for a long time, and that's how he wound up on the list currently. He being a totally non-gender specific he. There we go. And make sure it looks like he's moving fast. I'm starting to think that Zorn is the best idea. Liam Neeson never snowboards. He has a very specific set of skis. Oh, oh my. Chris has entered the room, and we all know it now. um, all right. So, let's see now. A Zorn is kind of like that with 3 sets of legs. The Zorn is having less of a good time than the roper is. Oh, I'm drawing that on the wrong level. Right, quick, quick, quick. I'm going to grab that. Here's one of those things, again, just what you can do. I'm going to grab that, and I'm going to do this. Is it going to give me cut as an option? Oh, come on, do that again. Select it. Cut it. Cut and paste. All right, so now it's on a layer of its own. I can move it down here and combine it with the sketch. So now it's on the sketch layer, which is where I want it to be. All right, what do we got? What do we got here going on? I got my eye on that finish line. So I used to do a comic originally in Dungeon magazine. Later on, it was revised or reprised in Cobalt Quarterly, called Bolt and Quiver. And Bolt and Quiver started out as a storyline comic. And I had the only storyline I ever really, well, no, it's not true. I wound up doing a couple of different storylines, but the first one I did had them wind up going to what they thought was a dungeon to delve in, and it was actually a theme park, excuse me. And the guy that ran it had a Zorn as his receptionist / secretary. And this particular drawing of the Zorn is reminding me a little bit of what I had for that secretary, though. She definitely had long eyelashes and big lipstick as just part of the visual gag. Guess Zorns also have tentacles, don't they? I think they do. Someone correct me on that. Check me on that. Do Zorns have tentacles? Someone give me a double check on that so I know whether I need to put that in here. I mean, there's no reason I can't make an effort to get it right, right? Zorns do not have tentacles. Zorns, creatures originating in D&T, describes having a rigid, rocky, and pebbly body with a distinctive tripartite radial symmetry. Yeah, so there we go. We got the tripartite radial symmetry. Got that right. All right, no tentacles. So there we go. Why am I given... What I am suddenly noticing is I gave it a second mouth. I purposely drew that first mouth screaming, and I gave him a second mouth. What was I thinking? I could now make this mouth maybe a little bigger. Yeah, the Roper's having a good time. The Zorn, not so much. All right. Let's put the mountains in the background here. And we can add in a little bit of color. And call this good. No, no. Got to finish some of these drawings here. This didn't come out quite as clear as I wanted it to. All right, now we go to the color. What am I thinking of with the... I'm thinking that maybe... As these are two monsters whose design I know I have repeatedly gotten a little confused on. Maybe with the tentacles I'm thinking of an Adiug. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just wrong and I should leave it at that. No, it's going to use blue, but I don't want to use blue. Why don't I want to use blue? I'll tell you why I don't want to use blue. I don't want to use blue because I'm going to be using blue to do highlights for the snow. And so I don't want one of the boards to be blue. Let's see, what else do I need to do? I need to put a little color there. And then I'm going to come in with the blue shading on the snow to make it seem very clean, a clean white. Like that. He cracks me up, that little Zorn. I think Zorn's coming off the list after this. I'm pleased with this Zorn. We'll see. Maybe he'll get to stay on. Maybe I'll do another Zorn sometime soon. This cracks me up. There we go. We're going to come back and go to our inking layer. And we're going to drop a little stand in the corner. Because there we have a roper and a Zorn snowboarding. And that is our third drawing of the evening. Let's see, Matthew says, Odiog definitely have tentacles. There we go. That's got to be what I'm doing. Because I would, in just doodling and kind of sketching things out, I would always confuse those two or conflate those two. And I kind of often would really, rather than thinking one was one way or the other was the other, I just mix them together and make one even weirder creature out of them. Anyway, there we go. We have ourselves a roper snowboarding along with his Odiog buddy. Now I think it'd be fun to do a whole series of Winter Olympics drawings of these two guys at the Winter Olympics. maybe I'll do that next week, and we won't have a who. It'll just be what events are these two guys doing. I don't know. Maybe. Let me know in chat if you think that's a good idea. Whether you're watching now or watching on replay or later on. Leave a comment if you think that I should do that for next week's show. Or if you think I definitely shouldn't do that too. Either way, there's your chance to vote. Otherwise, it's just going with my whims. And goodness knows, that can get us into some real trouble. All right, let me have one more sip. We finished 3 fine drawings tonight. Here, of course, is the Roper and the Adiug, not the and the Zorn. Let's see, I'm doing it again. The Roper and the Zorn, who may appear a lot next week in the show. Practice my Zorn first, Michael says. So, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good Zorn. A Roper and a Zorn. Snowboarding. Before that, we had a dwarf writing with a quill pen. A dwarf writing with a quill. And before that, we started off with an adventurer having insomnia. Those are the drawings we did this week, and I'll tell ya, I had a lot of fun. I hope you guys do. I know the folks in the chat seem to have. They'll tell me if they didn't. I'll hear about it later on. And we came up with an idea that I might follow through for next week. Should be fun. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate my chatters. I know we've had a lot more people than were chatting or watching live now, and this is not to shame you. Thank you for watching. I understand not everyone wants to or even can chat. If you're streaming YouTube onto your television, you can't get into the chat. Understandable. But whether or not you want to, I'm glad you're here. I appreciate you being here. I hope you're having a good time. Thank you, Chris Andrew and Matthew Snow. Thank you to Lamasu Rex, and of course, thank you to my researcher and assistant, Michael in chat. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. I'll be back next week with another episode of Random Encounters. I'll also be back next week with a new episode of 50 Years in the Dungeon on Wednesday. If you want to keep up on what's going on in my life, what I'm streaming each week, well, then maybe you want to join my Patreon community. Patreon.com/Stanex. That's a great way to be involved. You get behind-the-scenes access. You get to chat with me. I send you fun things. I've got some, I got some PDFs I'm going to be sending out to Patreon members in the not-too-distant future. So that'll be fun. I might make them available for sale also. We'll see. That's it. Patreon.com/Stanex. It's a great little community. I really love those guys. I'd love to have you join me there if you are of a mind and have the wherewithal. I'm not putting any pressure on you. I'm just presenting an option. Said I'll be back next week. Said what I've got going on. Told you how much I love you. I guess that's it. I gotta say goodnight. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being here. I'll see you soon. Till then,